term you use?
I believe in one God, the Father, and his Son, the Lord Jesus Christ.
And when was he created, the Son?
At the beginning, the firstborn over all creation.
Okay, can I bury that argument? Firstborn doesn't.
Yeah, there you go.
You can try.
You want to believe it? I'll do it with ease. Okay, Psalm 89. Open up Psalm 89. So I'll jump with you. So I'm trying to lose some weight. So I don't mind jumping with you. Psalm 89, 19 and 20. Let's read. Who's this talking about?
Then thou spakest in vision to thy Holy One, and saidst, I have laid help upon one that is mighty. I have exalted one chosen out of the people. I have found David, my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed him.
So he's talking about David. And if you continue reading the pronouns, it's all about David.
Yes.
It's about David. Now, David was the 8th son of Jesse, and he wasn't the first king of Israel. Now, read Psalm 89, 26, 27. What does it say about David?
He shall cry unto me, thou art my Father, my God, and the rock of my salvation. Also, I will make him my firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth.
What does it mean for David to be the firstborn? He's not the first king, and he's not the first son of Jesse.
He's preeminent.
Say it again.
Preeminent.
Excellent. Now, 1 Chronicles 5, verses 1 to 2, because you just refuted yourself, but that's okay. We'll get there.
No, it's okay.
We'll get there.
Christ is still preeminent, whether he's created first or last, he's still
Jesus
preeminent.
is not created, because firstborn means preeminent over creation by virtue of the fact that he created all things and he's supreme over creation. We'll get there. But 1 Chronicles 5, verses 1 to 2.
Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph. There's a big parenthetic here. Let me read it again.
Who was given the status of firstborn?
Joseph's sons.
Yeah. So keep reading.
Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, parenthetic, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel. That would be Ephraim and Manasseh.
Ephraim and Manasseh, yep.
And the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright. For Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler, but the birthright was Joseph's, end parenthetic.
Yeah, Joseph. So Joseph is child number 11, but he's given the status of firstborn. So what does it mean he's the firstborn?
He was the preeminent son of Jacob because he gave him the coat of many colors. So he was his favorite.
Good. So you just proved that firstborn doesn't always mean the one born first.
I'm well aware of that.
Okay, so then in Colossians 1:16, you're told why he's called firstborn. That's why the word for is there. For by him all things were created in heaven and earth. So I'm going to ask you a question. Since Paul already explained what he meant by firstborn in verse 16, because that's why the word for is there. If Christ is before all things, is present tense, in him all things consist.
Sure.
And by him all things were created in heaven and earth. That means Christ existed before creation, right?
Before the creation of the rest of everything else.
You didn't say the rest. You just did a Jehovah's Witness move on me. There is no rest.
It doesn't say he existed forever.
Yes, it does. He is before all things.
It just says before creation.
No. Okay, then what's before creation?
Well, we don't know, but he's the Alpha.
Oh, we do know.
He's the Alpha and the Omega. It's the first letter and the ending letter of a
God the Father. In Revelation 21, 6-7, God the Father is Alpha and Omega. Don't go there, man. You're going to bury your case.
That's okay.
So is the Father also the beginning and that he had a beginning? Because he's called Alpha and Omega?
Well, he's the beginning of everything.
Okay, so you now redefine the term. See what you did? You did the Bible ping pong. We went here, you went there. I'll jump with you. Now let's go to Revelation 21, 6-7, because you couldn't stay here. Go to Revelation 21, 6-7. Here, God the Father is called Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end.
Sure.
Okay.
Is that the Father?
Wait, weren't
you notice, guys, he can't stand on any one passage. When I try to exegete one passage, he runs to another, and I'm running.
Back up. I want to see if that specifically says
Revelation
the Father.
21, yeah, it is. It says, I will be his God, and he shall be my son.
That's where the Jehovah's Witnesses added Jehovah.
Read it, Revelation 21, 6-7.
Yeah, but what's
he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is the thirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son.
That's the Father. I will be his God. He'll be my son. So what is the Father called? Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end. So
okay, hold on. Slow down. Who sits on the throne? Does Christ sit on the throne?
In this context, is God the Father.
Well, verse 21:5, God is everywhere. The Spirit is everywhere. So who sits
the subject? If you
who
go
sits,
to
who sits on the throne? Do we know?
God the Father, Revelation 5, verses 1 to 7.
I thought the Father dwells in inapproachable light.
Talk to me over me. You're not answering my point. In the context of Revelation, God the Father is the one depicted on the throne. That doesn't mean the Son isn't. But in the language of Revelation, he who's on the throne is distinguished from the Lamb. In fact,
back up to verse 1.
Revelation 7.
Let's look at the whole passage to make sure that what you're saying is correct.
Okay, read Revelation 7, 9 to 17. You're going to see the one on the throne is distinguished.
Hold on. I think we just jumped from 21 to 7.
Can you take it easy so we can read at least one passage in context without you interrupting?
Well, can we go back to 21? You jumped from
We will
20.
get there, but first, let's deal with, in Revelation, who sits on the throne. Be patient. I will bear you in Revelation 21 in a minute.
All right. After this, I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms.
Wait. You see the guy? He didn't listen. Is the Lamb on the throne, or is God on the throne?
Lamb is on the throne, and God's everywhere.
Okay, read it again for this guy who's blind. Reread it again.
After this, I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
Okay, so there's a throne there, and there's a Lamb.
Salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. Do you read that, or do I have to parse it for you?
Well, it doesn't say that the God is on the throne there. It just says there.
God, which sitteth upon the throne, verse 10, and unto the Lamb.
Yeah, they're both on the throne.
Okay, now there it says our God, which sits upon the throne.
Okay, so don't tell me who's on the throne. In Revelation 21, we know there it's referring to God the Father because he says, he shall be my son. He shall be my son. That's God the Father on the throne. So don't do the Bible hopscotch. The one on the throne who says Alpha and Omega, beginning and says, I will be his God. He shall be my son. That's God the Father on the throne. So now let's get back to the point. When it says God the Father is Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, are you saying that means he had a beginning?
It just means he is in time and he's out of time. He's the beginning of time. He's the end of time, but he's also out of time.
Jesus is timeless because Jesus said the same thing about himself. Good job. Yeah, give him a rose.
Okay. Hey, can you go back?
Yay, good job.
Revelation 22, 12 to 13, Jesus says he's Alpha and Omega, first, last, beginning, and end, which he just said means that God began time and ends time. That means Jesus began time and end time. Yay!
I have no qualms with that.
Read it. Let's read it first.
I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning, the end, the first and the last. Now, who is this one? Is this Christ or is this the Father?
Yes. No.
Oh, behold, I come quickly. That's Christ.
Oh, so now, can you now admit that you just acknowledge that beginning and Alpha Omega means the one who began time and time? That means Jesus just said, I began time and I ended time.
Sure. They both did.
Well, then there's no argument. If he began time and time, that means he's timeless. He's uncreated. So
well, but let's slow down. God made an express image of himself.
No, he didn't. Not of Jesus. No.
Why would he need an express image all the way back in eternity past?
He didn't make Jesus the express image of himself before eternity.
It says he is the express image.
But didn't say he made him, right?
Well, it doesn't necessarily say he made.
And Hebrews 1:3 doesn't say express image the way you think. It's the word character. It's much more stronger than image and means the exact representation of God's being, which backfires against you again.
So it says who being.
Well, let me explain to you why. If Jesus is the exact representation of God's being, is God's being uncreated?
God himself is uncreated, but what about the image? Is it necessary to
let me get to my point?
Exist forever in eternity past?
Can you open up Hebrews 1:3 for this guy because he's not listening?
Right there, right in front of you.
It's right in front of you.
Yes, express image, character. Express image means the exact representation. And the word his person, hypostasios, means his substance, his being. But even if you go with this translation, the term express image here is not the same term image elsewhere, because the word image elsewhere is icon. Here it's not icon, it's character.
His character, his nature, yes.
No, oh my goodness, this guy. Dude, character in Greek doesn't mean what you think in English when it comes to the word character. It means the exact representation. So I'm asking you the question, if God's being is uncreated, how can a creature be the exact representation of a being that's uncreated? Because if you're created, then you're not the exact representation of an uncreated being.
Well, is Christ everywhere like the Spirit is everywhere?
Yes.
Okay. So in the sense they're both simultaneously every single place in the universe. Well, then why does it say he's on the throne, the Lamb that sits upon the throne? The Father is on the
Hebrews
throne.
1:3 says, Jesus is sustaining all things by his powerful word. How can he not be present everywhere if he's not sustaining all things?
Good job. Good job. Okay. We can agree.
Why don't you just repent and accept it?
No, I just want everybody to see how we're logically stepping through this. So far, I don't really have any trouble with what you're saying. It's just
okay. And then can we go to Jesus being prayed to? Because you're the one who's saying, Spirit, 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 and you change the subject.
Well, he believes Jesus was created.
Well, I believe
he's backtracking. He's slowly changing the errors.
I believe that the image was formed so that we could see and there would be an expression of God's character that we could understand.
Okay.
Now, whether
just admit it, just so we can wrap up, because I want to go to the prayer to Jesus. You just admit it. Jesus being Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, means he's the beginning of time, the end of time. So that means he created time. You just admit that, right?
All I'll say is that God himself and the image existed before the rest of creation was created.
Notice you said the rest of creation.
Right.
Nor does it say Jesus was there before the rest of creation. He's before all creation.
He's before all things.
Okay. And all things means he exists before all creation. Well, if you're before all creation, that means you're uncreated. Otherwise, you're not before all creation.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. God
is before all things, it doesn't mean that he's before all creation?
Well, it could be. It's not definitive. Let's just say it's not definitive.
Yes, it is. 1 Corinthians 8:6. Let's go.
Okay.
1 Corinthians 8:6. But to us, there is but one God the Father, of whom are all things. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Let's see how honest you're going to be. When it says of whom are all things, that means all things came from God, the one God the Father, right?
Yep.
All things means all creation?
Yeah, everything within that time period of creation until the end of time.
Yeah. From the Father, meaning all creation, right?
Yep.
And the Father was before all creation?
Sure.
You just proved Jesus is also before all creation, because notice the second part.
Jesus is before all creation of everything else.
Say it again. He's before what? All creation?
All things.
Yeah, but you said all creation. That means he's uncreated. So can we go to Jesus being prayed to? Because you just said
well, how do you say that?
Okay, brother. Brother, hold on. No, don't let him distract it. Brother, listen to what you just said. Don't speak too fast, because I'm trying to keep up with your speed. I just asked you, when it says there is one God the Father, of whom are all things, and I asked you, doesn't that mean if all things are from the Father, that means all creation? You said yes.
Yes,
but then the second line uses the same language, all things are by Christ. So if all things means all creation in the first line, then it has to mean all creation in the second line.
Sure.
But there's also a thing.
He just said sure, and he doesn't see the implication of that. That means you just admit Father and Son were there before all creation.
No problem. No problem.
Well, hold on. What do you mean no problem? That means if they're before all creation, they're uncreated.
It could be.
Okay. All right.